Now, 4:05 p.m. on January 19th, I'll call the meeting of the Wolfeboro Police Commission to order and invite everybody to stand and say the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And we do have a few different things for non-public this evening.
We do. I have personnel,
Yep.
two personnel issues
Okay.
that I need to discuss with you.
And Bob will entertain a consideration of the minutes for our December 15th meeting.
I would move that we accept it as presented.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Bryant to accept them as prepared, seconded by Commissioner Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Chief, if you'd like to proceed with the monthly reports?
Sure. So I'll move through very quickly. If you go to the first slide in your slide deck, you're going to see December. We were down 23.43% from 64 to 49, with 65 offenses for the month of December. All right, so you went from 64 incidents to 49 with 65 offenses. So you have the drill down material in your packet. If you want to see what those were by category. Arrests, we were up 181% from 11 in November to 31 in December. November was an anomaly. I've never ever seen it that low, ever, in my almost 27 years here. So, so December is typical of what we have. In fact, last October we had 32, so that's typically what we see, about 30 or so arrests in a month, and that's pretty standard. You do have the drill down data, if you want to see what that is, by arrest category and officer, and all the gory details that go along with that in your packet. Traffic stops, we were up 98.148% from 108 in November to 214. 214 is more consistent with what we see on a monthly basis. So, and you do have the drill down data in your packet if you want to see where those stops were and for what reasons.
Only 6 tickets.
Sir?
And only
6
6 tickets.
Yes. 6 tickets given out 2.80% chance of getting a ticket, so we're right around 3% chance. So what does that indicate, and why is that important? Because it indicates that a vast majority of our traffic stops are educational and not punitive. Collisions for the month were up slightly, 6.67% from 15 in November to 16 in December, where it's typical of what we see. If you want to compare it to October and November, there's 15 and 15 each month.
Sadly, that's the only stat that maintained its normalcy in November.
Yeah, November was an anomaly. And, you know, it's kind of funny you say that because if you remember, the first appreciable snowfall fell in November early on, and clearly these people are not paying attention to my coffee and connections, nor are they paying attention to my morning, my safety briefings, because when you don't have to go out during periods of inclement weather, that's when a vast majority of our traffic crashes occur, and everybody forgot how to drive in November during the first snowstorm. And then you've got the drill down data where those crashes occurred, by the streets, and of course all the usual suspects are there. And those are also our heaviest patrolled streets as well. So it's not for a lack of patrol. I do have the monthly SRO report for Mary Devine now. Gentlemen, just as a way of explanation, you know that this report was shared with the school board as an example of the data that we're now sharing with the school board and the school administrative unit. And I will be attending the school board meeting on the 23rd because I did provide to them all of the data that we've been supposed to, we're supposed to have been providing to them all along. So I know they are discussing that data,
Okay.
and I will be there. And also Officer Devine will be there in a SRO capacity. So, so I'm going to move into her report. December was the 4th month of school for SRO Devine with 17 scheduled days of school, 1 snow day. SRO Devine responded to several incidents at the Kingswood Regional High School and Middle School and took numerous school bus related complaints. SRO Devine wrote 5 arrest reports and 15 incident reports. SRO Devine contacted Division of Children, Youth and Families regarding a child in need of services for a student had run away several times from the middle school and ran from the police. And I was actually part of that little mini manhunt for that young lad. And I will tell you, when these incidents occur, there's a tremendous amount of police resources that get tied up. We literally drop everything to try to find where that youth had run off to. And it was great work by Sergeant Bolia that resulted in the apprehension of that runaway. After the call, DCYF SRO Devine walked the student to the bus each afternoon to make sure he got home. The student is currently involved with juvenile probation. SRO Devine contacted DCYF and the Tuftonboro Police Department for a welfare check and truancy on students in Tuftonboro. SRO Devine contacted the Middleton Police Department for a welfare check on a student who had missed an extensive amount of school. SRO Devine spoke with a student and reported a sexual assault that had occurred in another jurisdiction. The information was passed along to the police department that has jurisdiction. So in a case like that, just to reiterate, when we get a disclosure like that, we do the initial report of the investigation. We take down all the information and we pass it to the relevant jurisdiction who has the investigative authority. And that's absolutely the right thing to do. SRO Devine spoke with a student who reported being solicited online in another jurisdiction. That information was passed along to the Durham Police Department and is under investigation. SRO Devine spoke with a student regarding a stalking order violation, and it was determined that the violation happened in Ospey and was referred to the Ospey Police Department for investigation. SRO Devine took 4 reports of students in possession of tobacco products on school grounds. Each report resulted in school discipline. So this is an excellent example of when we get these initial disciplinary reports for students in violation, potentially of RSA 126K, right, which is a violation of law. We're punting that to the school administrative unit for their initial investigation and for their suspension. Just like in days past when we were all growing up in school, you know, the smoking in the boys' room type of thing. All right, this is a school matter really relegated to school authorities for disposition, not necessarily for the police department. SRO Devine took a report of AirPods that were stolen from a student in middle school and were destroyed. SRO Devine contacted each parent of the students involved in order to get reimbursement. SRO Devine spoke with a student and reported being assaulted at home. The information was given to an officer from the Wolfeboro Police Department for further investigation. SRO Devine responded to the middle school regarding a student stating he wanted the school bombed, wanted to wear body armor and bring guns and hand grenades to the school. The student was brought to the police department. SRO Devine wrote juvenile petitions for the student to appear in court, which is pending. In fact, Investigator Warren is working on that case presently as we speak. On December 21st, SRO Devine and Corporal Boucher responded to the middle school regarding a student who had a gun. The student was taken into custody immediately and transported to the Wolfeboro Police Department. The gun was found to be fake and not capable of firing real ammunition. During the investigation, while the middle school was still on lockdown, investigation led to another student being taken under arrest for stating they would shoot up the school with a gun. The New Hampshire State Police assisted with bomb detection K-9 prior to the school being released from lockdown. The K-9 did not detect any live rounds, firearms, bombs, or any other explosive materials. The school was then released from lockdown. The students were arrested and transported to Carroll County Court and were seen by a judge. One student was immediately incarcerated at the Sununu Center and the other under house arrest until their hearings, which were scheduled on January 9, 2023. The Sununu Center is a 24-hour secure youth treatment facility that offers intensive treatment for New Hampshire's detained and committed youth. SRO Devine sent 4 referrals to the Juvenile Probation and Parole for CANS assessments, and this is CANS' Child and Adolescent Needs and Strengths. The referrals were from assaults at the high school after a group of students jumped another in a bathroom. SRO Devine investigated a criminal threatening report on a school bus that occurred in Middleton. Middleton PD was made aware, and SRO Devine referred the case for Kansas assessment as well. Another assault was referred to White Mountain Restorative Justice for diversion. SRO Devine participated in meetings regarding the Kingswood's Next Steps team. The mission of the Kingswood Next Step team is to provide intervention and support for identified at-risk students to increase overall positive behaviors and academic success. That's really the best way to say what the whole juvenile justice system is really designed to do. It's to address specific issues and to seek rehabilitation to ensure that we address whatever issues are at stake and that we make the children as successful as we possibly can be. SRO Devine and Corporal Boucher met with Superintendent Ian, Principal Donnelly, and Vice Principal Carlin, referenced school security and getting training for the staff for an active shooting event. You have the breakdown of all the activity from Officer Devine in your background packet.
Truancy as a rule is handled within the school.
Yeah, you have a
Within-
truant
they have a
officer.
truant officer.
Yeah, and they often ask us to assist with these cases, especially when there's recidivist or repetitive behavior that seems to be going unchecked.
I just want to make that clear that it's a
Absolutely.
School administrative
It's a school administrative
issue,
action. We're oftentimes asked to get involved on the most serious cases. This would be repetitive cases when we start talking about, 30, 40, 50 days absent from school. Yeah, there's a problem there and that needs to be addressed. Remember, there's a law, right? Compulsory education. You have to go to school until age 16. Okay, and then you can drop out all you want. But until that point, you got to go to school.
I'd just like to take a second to recognize the work done by the SROs at the high school, and it stands to reason. This is support that we're trying to give to the school and to those officers by backing them up and trying to give them the resources necessary to do the job. And that's a heck of a month of activities she and Jason had to deal with.
It was, and and the other thing, when we talk about the gun incident that occurred, even though that was a replica gun, it was a toy gun, if you will, for lack of a better term, the way that it was presented, the way that it was communicated, and the language that was used around it caused unnecessary public alarm, and therein really lies the issue. Some of these toy guns that you see, they look very real.
Yeah.
And no one can tell the difference. And I've been in the Army for 34 years and been in law enforcement for 27. And I would be hard pressed from a distance if somebody pulled out a black toy handgun to be able to tell the difference at a distance. I just couldn't do it. And I've been around firearms my entire life.
We're supposed to have the ends colored, the barrel colored so that,
Right.
you can differentiate between the two. But in the heat of the moment, if that young lad had been approached by an SRO or another police officer who had noticed the gun and said, hold it right there, stop right there, and they were like, oh, no, it's just a fake, and they whipped the thing out.
Oh,
That could have had a horrible
Disaster.
end, because you're not going to take that chance. You're going to shoot first, and
yeah, and you just hit the rub, right? Therein lies the problem, right? Therein there lies the issue.
and I know when this first got out, people say, "Oh, it's a toy gun, not a big deal." Yeah, it is for that reason and for many others, but it's also a big deal, and the judge took it very seriously.
Right, very seriously.
To incarcerate, a middle school student from the 23rd of December till January 9th, I mean, they were away for the holidays. I mean, but those are, as you say, the second and third order effects of actions that he took, and very, very.
We don't know what he intended to do by carrying that piece, and that's the interruption performed by the SRO there.
Needless to say, the school day for all intents and purposes, was essentially, no pun intended, shot.
Yep.
Right. It was a waste of a day, and that's really too bad, and that's really the end result of it. So when you look at the second and third order effects of what transpired and what happened, and everything else that goes along with that, is really an unfortunate situation, one that should have never happened. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'll move on.
Please.
So, next report I'm going to brief is the detective report from Detective Emerson. During the month of December, Detective Emerson received information regarding a restraining order violation. A week or so prior, a male subject was arrested for threatening his wife with a firearm during a domestic dispute between the two of them. Fearing for the safety of the protected female in the restraining order, which was an arrest as a result of an investigation done by Sergeant Bolia, Detective Emerson checked known locations for the individual. The male subject was located in the vehicle with the protected female, and the male was arrested. In another matter, Detective Emerson's investigation into a theft by deception case resulted in the arrest of the suspect. Detective Emerson responded to Kingswood Regional Middle School for a report of a male subject on the second floor of the school with a gun. This is the same incident that I just read a moment ago. Detective Emerson assisted with the safety and security of the school, and Detective Emerson also assisted with the investigation and follow-up interviews. Detective Emerson was asked by the ICAC commander, right, that would be the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force commander, to take part in an invitation-only Internet Crimes Against Children 2-day training session. The training was specific to investigations related to child sexual exploitation crimes. Detective Emerson, who is currently a member of the ICAC task force, completed the training. The training was an excellent opportunity that will help him in the ICAC task force with investigations, not only in our community, but also statewide. Cases assigned investigated by the detective this past month: one theft by deception resulted in an arrest, one theft, identity theft, fraud case, one restraining order violation ended in arrest, two criminal threatening cases, both ended in an arrest, and one criminal mischief. Percentage of cases closed this month is 81%. That's really good. That's a really good number. And percentage of new cases closed by arrest during the month is 66%, okay, so 2/3. And percentage of entire case closed so far is 83%. Those are really good numbers. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll move into the chief's items.
Yeah, I just want to comment on, the detective's report, because this lends itself to what actually happens when we have situations like that at the school, where it's not only the SRO dealing with a situation, but it's magnified in that a lot of resources.
A lot of resources.
A lot of resources.
I think at that middle school incident, between state police and local police, 9 police officers and 1 K9.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of police resources off the road for a considerable period of the day, making sure that everything is in order. So we take this seriously, and I know the state police do too, and I want to thank the state police publicly for all their help. They've been a tremendous asset to the Wolfeboro PD over the years. Mr. Chairman, I do have a need for non-public session tonight. Under personnel, I have 2 personnel items that I need to discuss with the Police Commission. Moving into the first paragraph, Mr. Chairman, under general budget items, there will be an end-of-year budget fourth quarter fiscal year 22 review after the chief's presentation during the February 2023 Police Commission meeting. Now, let me explain why, and Tom, you're on the budget committee. So it takes the town finance department a little bit of time to get the financial reports to the Board of Selectmen and for the end of year bills and so forth to catch up. So there's some reconciliation in the budget that has to occur. We give them enough time to get that done. We've tried rushing these reports in the past, and it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well. So that's why we're doing this in February. Now, Commissioner O'Brien, I know the goals and objectives are near and dear to your heart, and I will brief the goals and objectives at that time as well.
Yep.
Once that has transpired and we do the briefing in February, that will, gentlemen, that will close the lid, if you will, on fiscal year 2022 budget. Now, I sent you in this commission packet, I sent you an awful lot of financials, even though the reconciliation is far from being completed. And the reason I did that was to give you a warm fuzzy that we've been able to land the aircraft squarely on the deck in terms of the budget, and we didn't have any bottom line over expenditures. We blew some lines completely out of the water, but we didn't go over the bottom line of the police budget, nor did we go over the bottom line of the dispatch budget. We did blow the snot out of the animal control budget, but that's because
Cat case?
of
Yeah,
the
the cat,
animal
yeah.
cat case, the $23,000 or so animal care bill that we decided. What we decided to do, we sat down with our very talented, exceedingly talented, and very capable administrative executive assistant, Sherry Moore, is sitting there at the end of the table, along with Captain Mark Libby. And we made sure that between all three budgets, we had enough money to pay that cat case. I wanted to pay that cat case off at the end of the year, before moving into the new fiscal year. If we had that money, I wanted to do that.
Are we still incurring costs from that?
Pardon?
Are we still incurring monthly costs from
Oh,
that?
yeah, we're still incurring monthly costs for that, but we have a plan moving forward, and she has been charged at this point, so now we'll be able to submit for, under the state law, under cost of care, to be reimbursed. Now, we're not reimbursed 100% of that money, we're reimbursed up to 75%, Whatever that delta is, though, I will try to get back to the town from the courts. So we'll get it back in some form of restitution. We're working with her to try to get her to surrender the animals to the Humane Society. That's a work in progress. We're moving forward. And interestingly enough, we picked up another, and this will be briefed in the January, this will be briefed next month, but I'll just give you a little taste of it, no pun intended. We had a number of roosters that were deposited in the middle of the woods. So 6 9, do you remember? Something like that.
How many?
And roosters.
No, how many?
6 or 9.
Oh, 6 or 9, I thought you said
And
69.
so the call came in from a concerned citizen, and we were able to track down the previous owner of the roosters, and the municipal conservation officer came out, and she's working with our staff to do the investigation, and we've got those animals corralled, so to speak, and then we'll be looking forward to dispensing with that case. By the way, do you like chicken? Just kidding. Come on, that was funny. All right, so moving on. Where was I? Budget. Okay. This will close the books on the fiscal year 2022 budget. Right now, we're doing just okay with the police and dispatch budgets. See the town finance officer's financial analysis report, which isn't out yet, gentlemen, and as soon as that comes out, I will get that to you. Though the numbers are still being calculated, we are projecting for within the bottom line ending to all three budgets, but it will be close. Gas and oil figures are included, and we came in at approximately 87.7% spent, or approximately 12% underspent in gas and oil gallons used. Yes, we blew that line. That line was blown. 113.7% overspent, but it was based off of the initial low estimates of the cost of fuel, so it was really beyond my control. This amounted to an over expenditure of $3,123.20. Had we not moved into the gas constriction plans that we initiated very early on, March, April timeframe, whenever we did that, that would have been a lot higher. So I feel really good that we were able to come in underspent on gallons used to try to offset that over expenditure. And that's still a fairly significant over expenditure, $3,000 overspent, a little over $3,000 overspent. Moreover, the Birch Hill cat case bills, animal abuse case, were paid in fiscal year 22 through the MCO budget, which put that budget overspent for the end of the year, but was made up for by savings in the PD budget. We will apply to the state for 75% of that money to be returned under the cost of care law in the state, and the rest will be obtained through prosecution as restitution back to the town. Right now that she's in the hospital right now in Portsmouth, so more to follow on that. Once those monies are awarded, they will be applied to the general fund in fiscal year 23, but they're credited back to fiscal year 22. So if that makes any sense, so what they do is they'll balance the books, so to speak. Budget snapshot was prepared by Captain Mark Livy, and you have that. So under the fiscal year 23 budget process, we've all but completed the construction of the fiscal year 23 budget and attended 3 late night meetings with the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee during the week of 9 through 13 January. All of our warrant articles have been approved by the boss, and we're now waiting on the town's deliberative session, which is scheduled for 7 February 2023 at 1900 hours in the Great Hall. With the non-union COLAs added by town, we're up approximately 3.6% in the PD budget, 6.7% in dispatch, and 6.5% in the municipal conservation officer budget. We met or exceeded all of the town manager's guidance of 8% or less overall increase. We had a very successful presentation to the Budget Committee and Board of Selectmen this past year, in my opinion. Under personnel, based off of constant PT test failures, PT is physical training, test failures, I have withdrawn the conditional offer of employment to our latest candidate, and I think the commission needs to move forward with the selection of a new candidate from our order of merit list. I suggest we discuss this tonight in non-public session under personnel. Administration, myself and Captain Libby continue to work with the town manager and the rest of the team on the public safety building build. And gentlemen, as by way of explanation, I did participate in the recording of the town's warrant article presentation to be put on Wolfeboro Community TV, and that was done yesterday starting at 1400 hours. Training, this week Officer Peasley attended SWAT training, or correction, this past month Officer Peasley attended SWAT training, Sergeant Strzok attended K9 training, and SRO Devine and Dispatch Supervisor Mia Lyons attended Special Olympics New Hampshire Conference. All officers except Officer Peasley completed their implicit bias, ethics, and de-escalation training. We will catch up Officer Peasley at a later point in time. Operations, criminal investigations, prosecutions. In terms of police investigations, prosecutions, and operations, the month of December was slow due to the courts and the Christmas holidays. We did have 2 high-profile incidents which occurred at the Kingswood Regional School Complex. Press releases were sent out by the SAU administration, and I'm not offering any additional information other than what was in there. Both these incidents took considerable time away from the patrol division and is indicative of the types of threats that I think we can expect to see for the foreseeable future. I dare say violence and the threat of violence is increasing in society as a whole, and in Hampshire in particular, I have noticed that there seems to be an increase in gun and weapons-related violence in the state. I do not think that our community is immune from these ills which plague society. As always, my police department stands ready to respond to crises and emergencies, and we look to prevent, mitigate, and if necessary, restore the peace when and where they occur. Our prosecutor continues to work through the extraordinary caseload created by the courts in terms of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Prosecutions. This month of December was a terrible month for our ability to dispense with cases. The courts allowed many continuances, and our prosecutorial team was only able to get through 13 cases, 11 of which were found or pled guilty, and 2 were placed on file. The conviction rates this past month is 100%, with $2,920 in fines, restitution, and penalties meted out by the courts. Safety and security matters. December proved to be a busy month for traffic, and we edged higher for traffic crashes, up 6.5% or so, with 1 additional crash over last month. We are realizing significant increases in traffic volumes. Incidentally, up this past month where traffic stops to we're up 98.14%. Not up to, but we're up 98.14%. It was a heavily traveled holiday season. I suspect the traffic to our town will continue to be heavy all year long, so please plan for this in advance and leave earlier for destinations. Additionally, I believe our population density has increased significantly over the last year, and I'm forecasting that it will continue to increase for the next 3 to 5 years as folks continue to escape our major population centers and move to less densely populated areas of our country. Lastly, during significant weather events, of which there will be one tomorrow,
And continuing.
if Yeah, actually another one following on its heels on Sunday. If you don't have to go out, don't. A vast majority of our crashes occur during periods of inclement weather. Plan for days ahead of these storms, cancel non-important appointments or events if possible. Additionally, please be mindful of state and town public works crews who are out on the roads during and just after the storms, cleaning up the snow, slush, and ice. Please give our very talented road crews the space and time they need to get our roads cleaned up, and please be careful when passing them. Thank you. Outreach and matters of interest. We are still engaged in a wide variety of public engagements and busy with the Town of Wolfeboro Committee programs. Safety tip of the month, January. Let's all take a breather and slow down. The holiday season is behind us, and we know from past experiences that the months of January and February will be snowy and driving will be treacherous. Let's all take a break and get some rest. That's an order. Lastly, if you have too much to drink and can't figure out a safe way to get home, call the PD and we will figure out something for you. We don't want to see you get hurt, and we don't want you to hurt someone else. Our dispatch number is 603-569-1444. Thank you in advance. Happy New Year, everybody. Mr. Chairman, you have a collection of various financials that are in your packet. If you want to drill down on any of that, with your permission, I'll just very briefly go into some end-of-year stats by way of explanation. I think they're be educational for the public.
How long's the list?
Just 4.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. So incident cases, fiscal year 21 versus fiscal year 22, we had a 9.61% increase. We're up from 593 incidents to 650, with 956 offenses in 2022 versus 1,151 offenses in 2021. Let me explain that real quick. Gentlemen, I know you know this, but for folks watching, they're saying, well, what's the difference between an incident and an offense? An incident is essentially a case, and an offense is a particular crime connected to that case. So some incidents have more crimes attached. There may be multiple crimes in a single incident. And you gentlemen have that in your slide packet, and you can drill down on it. For traffic stops, we're actually down in 2022 from 2021. We went from 3,329 to 2,581. That was a decrease of 22.49%. And I'm attributing that to 2 things primarily. One was we had far less highway safety grant money, and we also had personnel shortages, which really hampered the PD. 234 tickets were given out in 2022. That's a 9.0% chance of getting a ticket versus 213 tickets given out in 2021, which is a 6.4% chance of getting a ticket. So again, running just under 10% of a chance of getting a ticket versus receiving a warning. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have relative to any questions
Okay.
that you may have.
No, I think I'm good. Bob, do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. Our next meeting will be Thursday, February 16th, right here in the Bradley Room at the library. 4 p.m. will be our normal start time. Nobody's here from the Board of Selectmen. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to invite Kathy to speak. I know you have some concerns about parking.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to come in today. Thanks for giving me a buzz. I was at the Board of Selectmen's meeting last night and to check in and see what progress had been made in regards to the report that I presented last November in regards to the park and ride shuttle that we attempted to do to try to help some of the traffic and parking congestion downtown. By the way, I'm Kathy Fairman, I'm with Wolfeboro Trolley Company. I left a copy of the report, I think, for you, Chief, and for you, Steve, but I didn't leave copies for the other young commissioners, which I should have done, and I'm providing those at this time, and I know they'll have a chance maybe to look it over later. Bob and one for Sean. Thank you. I'll just touch on a couple of things real quick in this. Obviously, something to go back and look over, but basically what we tried to do was I added a trolley with the hopes that we would be able to run a shuttle from Kingswood downtown in July and August, that people would ride the shuttle and leave their cars there. We did season passes to any student who was working downtown. We did season passes to all of those people who bought signs on the trolley. So we had upwards of potential of 200. I know 200 season passes went out to people who worked downtown, to the businesses, and then the kids just had to call us to get one. They didn't get used, so there wasn't that there was a cost to them. They chose not to ride the trolley and take it. We ran it from 8 in the morning until 6 at night, and we also had some usage of it, and we saw that gradually increase in the course of the summer by visitors coming in who were able to find us, and they would ride the trolley downtown to catch the other trolley or to do whatever they wanted to do. Mount Washington helped in terms of publicizing it so that people who are coming in to ride the Mount were able to take that. But basically what it came down to, and we watched it, we could see it, and the businesses that I spoke with, we have almost 100 businesses that advertise with us, either with signs on the trolley or ads in our brochure or both, primarily saw that employees, not all of them, and many of the business owners will park on the side streets or at Glendon Street, but the employees were parking downtown for the course of the day. And I spoke to Dean about it at one point early before the season, and I spoke to Mark about it later on, and I understood that you just didn't have the facilities and the resources to patrol downtown and to issue tickets. And so people just did it. I mean, there was no need to. And I really, because I was driving as much as I was to try to control my costs, I observed the time period is about 10 until 3. Even at 9 o'clock, you can go down and find a place to park easily. But by 10:30, it's just a snarl. And we have more and bigger purveyors coming into town. The trucks are bigger. Everybody's things are bigger than our town was in all the years, you know, especially way back. If you think it was bad when you were driving trolleys, Steve, and you told me you couldn't stand the traffic, then it's a lot worse now. So basically with this, with the program, I'm considering what I'll be doing this year. At the present time, I'm going to run it in that 10 to 3 window to catch visitors. If we're not going to, and I do think, I get it. If you can drive to work and you can come in at 9:30 and you pull up and you park your car and you come out at 5:15 and you get in your car and drive away, there's no way you're going to take a shuttle, even if it's free. It isn't going to happen. And so it have to be consequences. And I get it. You guys have to have the resources to make those consequences. But consequences for anything will make the difference. And either we want to keep it the way it is and we're happy with the situation downtown, and when I say we, I'm talking about us as a community, or if we want to change it, then we have to step up to do that. We have to give you guys the means to do that. So one of the things that I've heard about is this, and I happened to be at the school board meeting last week when you did your presentation about the proposed SRO officer, excuse me if I get those letters wrong, the school resource officer for the middle school. And I found that very interesting, and I know some people came away feeling like, oh my gosh, we've got, because you said we had more incidents or whatever, again, I may not have the jargon right, in our school district than any other school district, others around in the area. And I came away feeling it's not that we have more of that happening, it's that we're doing more about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that
right.
it's the old thing about, you know, until they made a law against child abuse, and then the teachers and the doctors and everybody had to report it. And they say, my God, we never used to have child abuse, now we have a whole bunch of it. No, it's not like that. We're doing something about it. So I look at that as the fact that we're doing something, and doing something because we have people like Mary Devine, who, as she described it, are in her room, and the kids come in to see her. And if a child comes in and reports something that they now know is wrong, that they used to be told was not wrong, you know, we're making progress on the educational side, and we're making progress in reaching these. So I came away saying, I think that's a good thing, that we need more of it, not because we're afraid, because we want to reach the kids, because when we do reach the kids, then we can make a difference there. And it's so much better. The earlier we get to them, So if you get them in middle school when they're trouble, that's better than getting them in high school. And the combination between the community working together, which is what happens when the police department and all parts of the community and the school system work together, we can do a better job. So, but it also occurred to me that that person that's going to be working from September to June at the school will need something to do in the summertime.
Well, that's part of our plan.
And that's what I thought maybe was, because it seemed logical to me. So I think that's great. I also think that it could be very helpful to the people in town if they understood that that was part of where we were going, that they might be more inclined to vote for it if they knew that it was going to say, oh, it's not going to just help the school. You mean I might get a parking space when I go downtown? I mean, it's a combined effort. Again, if we work together to publicize it and get behind it, then I think that could be very helpful. And it's so nice to know the budget committee is here tonight, because that's very important. Because as we know, in this town, the people in this town really rely on and respect what the people they elect have to say. So that if something isn't going to fly with the budget committee, it torpedoes it pretty quickly. So it's real important, I think, for everybody to get together. As I said in this letter when you read it, let's get together in the room and figure this out. You are autonomous from the selectmen and the budget committee, you know, but we all need to get in a room together and figure it out, because we're trying to do something right here.
No, I totally understand. Just real quick about the SRO position. That's a police commission initiative. You know, it's for meetings like this that we have every month, and we get the SRO report. And last year we started, during 2021, or last year, I mean, or during 2021, we started seeing an uptick, noticeable uptick. And we were tracking on that, so as we entered 2022, and the numbers are continuing to increase, the conversation about additional SRO started happening more frequently and more intently. And then finally, prior to a meeting that we held in October, we voted to move forward with that initiative. Typically, if we were looking to hire another officer, we might follow a process where we speak with the budget committee, we speak with the board of selectmen, who say, this is what's coming forward this year, we're going to put it in our budget. We put this into a warrant article because we believe, one, that's the most democratic way to handle this, if everybody has a vote. But in order for that to be effective, we need to educate them. So when we first initiated or announced this initiative, we said it would be primarily for the school. Our primary concern is school safety based on what we're seeing.
And do I understand, I left, and I wished I hadn't now, because I gathered there was more discussion between you and the school board about that. Is the school board on board with this?
They are. They voted in favor of it. They are supportive of it. They've written a warrant article to a point that you made a little earlier about getting the public educated. We continue to talk about this. I'll be speaking at the school deliberative session. I'll be speaking at the town deliberative session to explain this fully. But what we've done is, and this is a credit to Linda Murray, we had originally written a warrant article speaking to the cost, as you typically do. This will be for an additional SRO at the middle school. Kathy felt it important, and we agreed with her so that the people of Wolfeboro know that last summer, because we were down a couple of officers, we weren't as present in the downtown area as we would like to be. So she wanted it also in the warrant article that this person will be coming back to the town and will be helping during the busiest, and that's part of the narrative and it's true. We get that person back, toward the end of June, and we have them till the end of August. That's our busiest time.
It's a time when we need.
And, with regard to the summer, we were down two full-time patrolmen. We're still down two. One is in the academy, but when they come back, they're going to be hitting the street right away because they're a veteran with us in a part-time capacity, so they'll be ready to rock and roll. And we're hoping to hire a certified officer very, very soon that we can get through the field training program and get them on the road. So we'll be well positioned for this summer, and then with the addition of the SRO, if that should pass. But the warrant article is also written so that both warrant articles need to pass in order for it to fly. So everybody in Wolfeboro is going to be voting on it twice, basically, on the school warrant as well as the town warrant. And obviously we're hoping for support, but If anybody's been listening to the numbers that we've been quoting, we had 198 incidents at the offenses rather, I'm sorry, at the school complex last year out of 169 cases. So, and then we met with the budget committee again the other night, who voted in the majority to move this forward as well. And the budget committees, the Board of Selectmen are on board as well. So all the major players are behind this and support this. But the chief and the captain reported on how those 198 numbers broke down and the types of criminal acts that are occurring. The other thing that we did with that was spoke to what the school district is reporting to the Department of Education. And that, it's hard when you go in with just your police facts and talk to a school board or a budget committee or a board of selectmen because, well, we only have your numbers. How do we know they're correct? The school district, the Department of Education, you can look at that website and see the numbers that are reported by the school district. And this is just for the administrative.
Those are their numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
So their numbers.
They're not, we don't feed
Right.
them. Those are their own cases, their own
And they
investigations.
had 80
their own
acts of
issues.
violence reported, and this is separate from us, on that complex last year. I'm sorry, district-wide, 127 acts of violence last year, 80 at the middle school, 80.
At the middle school, not the high school.
That left
Yes.
40.
Well, yeah, it's been a terrible time,
Yeah.
and we can see violence everywhere. People are angry, people are frustrated, trying to get everything in life back on track. But look at our kids. I mean, our kids have just been through the grinder, and we've got to help them and do everything we can.
Well, and I
We
took
can't
that-
just
No.
put it under the
Still
rug.
feeling the effect of COVID.
Yeah.
Of course we are, yeah,
That's it,
we're
yep.
going to. It's the school board made a decision the other night that I admired, to say we're not gonna try to have remote days.
Yes.
We're going to have, when it's gonna be a
Snow
snow
days.
day, it's gonna be a snow day. We don't need to even mentally put the kids and the teachers back into
Right.
that situation. I thought that was
No,
such
I
a
thought that was
sensible
very
good thing to
good.
do, so. Anyway, I've taken more than my
Yeah.
5 minutes. for
No,
sure.
it was
good,
I didn't
though.
put you under a 5-minute
No,
limit
okay,
because
I
I
just-
invited you to come in and speak back and forth with us about this. We honestly believe that we're gonna be far better positioned. We hope to have, and something that we didn't have last summer too, is a traffic officer downtown. The last part-timer that we had was doing an effective job, doing a very good job, but was also subjected to some pretty serious verbal abuse, as well as his family. And then when business owners are paying tickets so that their help can continue to park along the main road, that's the wrong message too.
Right,
So I think the idea is perfect to get all the major players in the room because we need to look at the parking problem and look at, police intervention. You can only write so many tickets. And if people don't care, it's not gonna change. But there are other methods of collecting
it takes
money.
a whole attitude. It takes a town to make a change like that. But the school board said, what can we do to get our kids to use your trolley when, there's no charge to them to do that? Well, I had 3 of the big employers of the kids downtown, just so you saw it, Greg Rourke, and Deb Skelly and Peter Kelly, every one of them they know that their kids are, and they're parking, even though they tell them, you park down here, you don't do this, you don't do that. Well, the reality is, Greg said, we get them in the pocketbook, it'll make a difference to those kids.
Yeah.
So Kathy, real quick, I just want to talk about a couple of things here relative to this, and I think and this has been discussed, what I'm about to say has been discussed with Board of Selectmen. Here is the issue with parking enforcement right now, and I think if you look at Conway, and I applaud what Conway is doing, they're really doing a good job. They want to move toward Park Mobile, right, which is an app-based. So you wouldn't be, you don't, by doing that, you don't necessarily get involved in the kiosk infrastructure. But the issue is, and I want to say it was the 3rd, you can Google this when you go home, it's either the 3rd or 6th U.S., the United States, Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
And it was a case that originated out of Kentucky, I think it was Kentucky. If it wasn't Kentucky, it was Minnesota or Michigan, one of those M states. But the issue centered around chalking of tires.
Oh, you can't do that anymore.
Right.
And you can't do that anymore, right? And therein lies the problem, right? So we can't chalk tires. It's been ruled, and I happen to agree with the ruling. It's an illegal search, and it's also criminal mischief. Now, the court didn't hear the criminal mischief part, though that was brought up. They ruled solely on the Fourth Amendment issue, illegal search and seizure. So we have precious few resources to be able to enforce the 2-hour parking, right? You really can't do it by photo, right? It's hard to do by photo, really hard to do.
Yeah.
Because what happens if the vehicle moves and is now back in the same spot? You see what I'm getting at?
Well,
Remember, it's
Can't you put it just to ticket it?
reasonable doubt, right? It becomes proof beyond, so the proof in court is gonna be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a reasonable doubt. Okay, we'll never win that. It's gonna be a waste of time, all right? So moving towards something like a mobile park app does a number of things, right? And one of the things it allows us to do, and I've been a proponent of this, we bring the men of Washington in for 3-hour cruise, right? It was at Gilligan's Island.
That was 4 hours.
But yet we have 2-hour parking, so these people come back and now they have a parking ticket on their car. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all.
No.
All right, so what a park mobile app would allow us to do is you could charge by hour for parking. So they would pay for 3 or 3.5 or 4 hours of parking. Therefore, they would be able to, pay that up front. The town obviously would get the money, and now nobody's getting a ticket. Now, obviously, clearly, you would have to have a traffic enforcement officer, a police officer, checking, right, and making sure.
You have the same situation of having to check how long they're
Right.
there and everything.
So now you're not doing a search, right? You're not doing a search, but you're essentially checking for payment, right? So that makes a lot of sense. But the way the ordinance was written, based off the technology available at the time, with the chalking of the tires or the placement of a toothpick on the tire, whatever the case may be, there's a bunch of different methods that they could do. Yeah, that's gone the way of the dodo, right? That's 1957 technology. That ship has sailed, and Tom, we ain't on it. We ain't on it. So
Can you just, if you have a notebook and you walk down the street and you write the license plate down and the time that you were there, and then you go around, and by the time you get back, they're still there, you check the time, and you walk around and you check it again? I mean, I gather maybe it will be challenged in court and it would get thrown out, but how many people are gonna take the parking ticket to court when they know they're guilty?
quite a few.
Yeah.
Quite a
Especially
few.
if they learn they can get away with it.
Quite a few, yeah. That technique is not very. That's not. I mean, it sounds easy. Trust me, I used to do this.
Yeah.
I used to do this.
I haven't done it, so I have to.
Yeah, I
I've done
used to
it
do
too.
this. That is what you just described is really. It's really difficult to do. It's not going to return a good product. It's not going to return a good result. Moving forward with a park mobile app-like system is what this town really needs to
Or
do.
kiosks.
So what I'm trying to tell you
I'm
is,
not disagreeing with that, and
Yeah.
I think that there's several different ways that it can be done, but looking at it and trying to find the solution that the people
the
want.
ordinance needs to be
we do
rewritten.
that.
We really got two choices here, right? So I applaud what you're trying to do. Let's get everybody in the room in a task force and let's figure this out. And that's what has to happen. I don't write ordinances, all right? And when I say that, I'm not saying that because I'm not looking to not do work. I'm in the executive branch of government, okay? So the writing of ordinances, that's gonna be your board of selectmen and that legislative piece, right? They have to put their legislative hat on, and they're the ones that have to write that, and I can help them. But what you need to do is you need to craft an ordinance that is up to date in accordance with the practices of society. I don't know when that ordinance was written. I'm gonna say maybe mid-70s,
I have no
Yeah,
I don't
it's that old, and society has moved on. I mean, there's just been a lot of change, just in the last 22 years, there's been a lot of changes.
There's
Society's
a lot.
moved on. So that's what we need to do, right? I'm not saying we won't enforce the ordinance. We will attempt to enforce that ordinance as best we can. But that end product is not gonna be very good. It's just not gonna be very good. Because I have no way to ascertain whether a vehicle has been there 2.5 or 2 hours and 13 minutes or whatever. I have no way. I have no good way to do that. Now, there may be some times that we can clearly tell that vehicle's been there 8 hours, he's getting a ticket. Sure, those are the easy ones. But to do the nuance, to do what you want done, have these vehicles move basically every 2 hours and free up the spaces, sure, I happen to agree with that. But we have to restructure the ordinance, all right, and set us up for success so that when we come in with our iPad to check and then to write, as you said, there has to be consequences to a bad act. I totally agree with that. And we have some of that infrastructure already. We have iPads at the PD. That stuff we have. We just need the town to adopt the Park mobile app, and we need the opportunity to go ahead and start doing this. But the old way of doing things, that's gone. And it ain't coming back.
There's a lot of things.
And that's a
about
major
that.
revenue
But you can give a
source.
ticket if somebody's got a car parked in a motorcycle spot. Can you ticket that?
Yes, we can. That's an easy one.
And they're,
Yes, we
They're
can.
parking all over.
And-
in
That was one of your
spaces.
examples.
And
Yeah, and they,
Yeah.
I could
And
take that every day.
there are clearly things that we can ticket, outside the time limit. If you've got a car that's taking up 2 or 3 spaces, yeah, we can ticket that.
Yeah.
If a car's parked in an improper area, yeah, we can ticket that. If it's, within 15 feet of a fire hydrant, we can ticket that. It's in, 20 feet of a stop sign, we can ticket that, right? Parked on a crosswalk or in a bus spot, yeah, we can ticket those things. Those are non-issues, and we did do that this year. I went down, I wrote many tickets this year myself, right? Because I got nothing better to do. So I did that.
Oh.
But it's the timed parking that becomes the problem. Now, if you look at the Conway Daily Sun, and you look at the reporting that they've had on the town of Conway saying that's going to generate a lot of revenue.
A lot of revenue.
And I love what they're doing with it. They're taking it and they're throwing that revenue at the highway department and saying, hey, road improvement, road infrastructure upgrades, new front end loader, new bucket loader, new 20-ton dump, right? And that's great, right? That's great because that's defraying the cost of tax. That's defraying the operating cost of the town.
Even if it comes back to pay for the whole system of having to administer the new ordinance and pays for that police, that officer.
It
or
could
whatever.
very well.
I mean, it offsets something.
I mean,
And
the amount of money that they're talking about, even the reasonably minor amount of money that they're talking about, is still quite significant. Just over $100,000. And that was just the first year, and that was just one very small area of the town. Imagine if that expands out. Imagine how much more that will be. So I think there's a lot of goodness in there. I do understand, because I have officers that really wish this was 1957. But there are a lot of people that don't like change. I understand. I love change. I thrive on change. But there's a lot of people that don't, and I understand that.
I have just one question to go back to something you said earlier in your report, and then I'm on through if you have any more questions for me. You said that if somebody has a concern, if they've been drinking, or they know or have somebody that needs a ride, they can call the police department. And I'll tell you why I asked that, to go back and ask. Because we had a business recap. I'll go back to I'm on the town's economic development committee, you may realize, and we had the businesses come in. One of the issues that was brought up by one of the restaurant owners in town is that they don't have anybody to call when they have someone in their restaurant that they feel has had too much to drink and that they want to get help. We don't have a taxi, we don't have an Uber, we don't have anybody. And are you saying they can call the police department?
They can call the police department, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna drive them to Rochester, but we'll figure something out for them.
Okay.
If at the very least, we'll give them a warm place to sleep for the night.
There you go. You know what, it's an important answer, because, you know, these people, they don't know how much somebody's had to drink when they get into their restaurant. It isn't what
Right.
they've necessarily consumed there, but all of a sudden, they know somebody is.
I would
shape
rather a
right.
citizen try to do the right thing and give us a call, and say, listen, you know, I was at, you know, XYZ restaurant, I had a little too much to drink, it's my fault. You know, a nice solution would be, hey, why don't, you know, I don't have anybody to come get me, whatever the case may be, at least we can get them into the lobby. They're not gonna freeze to death.
Yeah.
And we have PBTs, and we can at least monitor their alcohol burn-off rate until they get down to such a level that they can get into their vehicle. It might be 2 or 3 hours down the road, but, I mean, that's worst-case scenario. Best-case scenario is we get, you know, Uncle Elmer or Aunt Sally to come get,
Somebody, yeah.
yeah.
That's great.
So,
Okay.
there
Thank
go.
you so much, and I'm
Thank you for coming in.
But maybe you wanna get into the taxi business.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. So, well, I'll tell you, I think we've made a lot of progress here. I'm so glad you guys have been working on this, and I'll be there to support you on both, because I think both are very good. And I think the SRO, along with that, bring the parking person in, is something that I think a lot of people, not everybody's going to be happy, like you said, not everybody, but you can't expect that. And if we're going to do something about it, then.
I'd be more than happy to help
That's great.
you. If you wanna take the lead and get this Park Mobile thing going, I'll help you all day long.
I'll look at it, and I think there are
Yeah.
other people. There are other people who've talked about the kiosk, you know, that's how it's done, in Gunquit and all kinds of places. Yes.
Weirs.
With Park Mobile, you don't need a
Portsmouth.
kiosk.
Yeah,
You
it
know.
sounds interesting. I'm
Well, the
gonna
other
read
thing
up
though,
on it.
you have to remember, and I, at the risk of upsetting people, it's mostly the older population, but there's even younger, part of the younger population of that.
The ones that
Not
are still stuck in 1957.
Well, they're just not that
Right.
technologically advanced. So a Park Mobile app for somebody that can't even run this,
It doesn't need the kiosk. and there's
they
a
need the
flip-
kiosk where they can
Yeah.
just go in and go, yeah, my car is parked in slot G3.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be here 4 hours.
And they get it down.
And
You don't want to
search your
jump
credit
too
card.
fast, you know.
Right.
I would have trouble with that.
Yeah.
You know.
I was trying, that's why I said disclaimer, I don't wanna offend anybody, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to be a
And
realist.
everything has, yeah, you don't want to jump too fast, you want, and education is a big part of it, you know, as we talked about having a warning thing that said, these are the alternatives, we're giving them an alternative. Until you give them an alternative, what else are they gonna do? But you can park here, you can park here, you can take the shuttle, whatever.
I know over in the Weirs, I was over there for a special Mount Washington cruise or something. And we parked and I was looking at the kiosk and I'm just trying to figure the thing out because other places I parked, they're all a little bit different.
Yeah, they are.
And, but one of the officers that happened to be patrolling on foot came over and said, can I help you, sir? And I said, no, it's just easy, just do boom, 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 boom. Oh, okay, thank you.
That's what's great. If you have somebody walking around town doing that, they can help the purveyors. The new guys coming in who don't know where to do it and however, and don't understand what happens when you block off the entrance to Dockside with a semi or
Yeah.
whatever. Somebody walking around helping, it's good PR for you, and it's really helpful to our, and people like that.
You know, Kathy, one last thing I just want to leave you with, and you know, and hopefully no one gets offended when I say this, that's watching this, but you know, when I go to Wells, Maine, or York, or to Bar Harbor
Hyannis.
on vacation, New York City, taking a show, I expect to pay for parking. I don't
yeah.
expect to park for free. All right, I expect to pay for parking, and I'm more than happy to pay for parking.
Yeah.
If I can park right out in front of that venue and I gotta throw 25 or 50 bucks on a kiosk or use a Park Mobile app, I'm more than happy to do that. I expect to do that. I'm away on vacation. And I think we really need to get away from a mentality that says everything should be free in Wolfeboro.
It really isn't, somebody's gonna pay anyway, so
You know,
somebody
and-
pays one way or
and-
another,
and-
so
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
And it's Manchester or Concord you go to.
You go to
Pay for
Portsmouth,
parking.
and you wanna go, especially Christmas time, try to go down Portsmouth at Christmas time. You're paying for parking. You know, you're paying for parking.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you,
so
Kathy,
much.
thank you for
Bye
coming
now.
in. Okay. Is there anybody else, Tom? from the Budget Committee? Do you have any?
Nothing new.
Wisdom to impart,
I mean,
no?
I'm thrilled with the outcome, finally.
Yeah.
It was like.
Thank you for-
Thank you for supporting us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sausage got made, but it came out.
And our sole member of the public, Bernie, do you have anything? I'll take that as a no. Does our public have anything? No? Okay. All right, then, at this time, I will entertain a motion to enter into non-public session.
I so move.
I gotta finish.
That's okay. I'm
Under
joking.
on RSA 91-A, to discuss personnel matters. Do I have a movement on that?
Yes.
Okay, moved by Commissioner O'Brien, seconded by Commissioner Wood. Roll call vote, Commissioner O'Brien?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is a yes. So we'll stand in recess while we clear the room for non-public.